नहीं सर, आप शुरू करें।
मैं शुरू करूं?
सुरेश बाबू जी, हाँ जी, शुरू करें।
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके ओके ओके। अच्छा, good evening friends.
Good evening, sir.
And also let me reiterate and express my genuine love for city of Kolkata and my people friends from Bengal. Many of you, I have worked with you, I have met you, we have had a very good interactions, and therefore it's yet another opportunity for me to meet you, if not in person, at least digitally. As we had to change the timing of this program, I had a little problem because I had to another program I had to attend, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity of meeting all of you. So I requested, at least if not for long, we'll have a brief interaction. As you know, one of the most affected section of India's economy is industry. And when we say industry, it includes manufacturing, trade, services, and all that part of that. It also includes mining, it includes construction, and it has been affected by multiple ways. One, of course, there is no revenues because entire economic activity has stopped. But because revenues have stopped doesn't mean that expenses have stopped. So expenses continue to be incurred by the industry. And as we know, in any business, there are fixed costs and there are variable costs. At least you can put pause button on variable costs. But fixed costs have to be anyway, have to be incurred and they have to be paid for. So it's a double whammy for an industry that while you have to incur the pre-committed cost, the fixed cost, at the same time there are no revenues to match it. And therefore it is not just a cash flow problem. If it is not addressed properly, it could also become a solvency problem. That good businesses can turn into wrong one, bad one, if the solvency of business is not ensured. But solvency, in a way, is a little bit medium-term issue. The immediate issue is cash flow. That's a liquidity issue. And therefore, liquidity and solvency have to be addressed at the same time. If you address liquidity properly, it doesn't mean necessarily solvency will come. But if you don't address liquidity, solvency will never come. And therefore, to address it both at the same time is a big challenge, for which different kinds of interventions are called for. One is monetary policy, wherein more liquidity has to be created in the market, which normally is the role of a Reserve Bank of India. As a central bank, they have the ability and the responsibility to regulate the liquidity in the market. They being the regulator for the banking system, but also they are responsible for currency management. And therefore, performing both these functions, they can certainly ensure a proper liquidity in the marketplace. Even if there is a liquidity in the economy, doesn't mean the liquidity will come into the companies. That's another matter. You can create an overall liquidity in the marketing system, in the banking system, but if the bank don't lend to the borrowers, the liquidity will not come into the balance sheets of the companies. So what we call it as transmission is not just of interest rate, but it's also a responsibility of cash flows coming into the borrowers' accounts, because that is what will actually create a working capital for the companies. So one function of liquidity has to be played by the banking system as a part of by the Reserve Bank of India as a part of a monetary policy. The second part for both liquidity and solvency will come from the fiscal policy. The fiscal policy has to address this issue in terms of providing taxation reliefs, providing incentives for business to run the businesses properly, ensure that statutory obligations on the part of the industry can be discharged in a manner that is not going to put additional burden on the industry. Also, regulatory issues have to be properly addressed in terms of filing returns and other responsibilities, because it is not possible now, because you cannot prepare balance sheet, you may not be able to file returns. All of that will have to be addressed properly. But that's not fiscal policy, that is only a regulatory function. So overall, the economy needs a lot of support from various quarters for industry to survive. Because as our Honorable Prime Minister announced, we want to create Atmanirbhar Bharat, which depends largely on our people. आत्मनिर्भरता हासिल करने के लिए हमें सही मायने में अपने लोगों को आत्मनिर्भर करना होगा, और आत्मनिर्भर भारत की एक बहुत ही अहम भूमिका ये रहेगी कि हमें किस तरह से हमारे यहाँ पे काम करने वाले जो उद्योग जगत के लोग हैं उनको हम किस तरह से मजबूत करें, क्योंकि वो मजबूत होंगे तो अर्थव्यवस्था मजबूत होगी, अर्थव्यवस्था मजबूत होगी तो आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ हम दौड़ कर सकेंगे। तो इसीलिए मुझे लगता है आज के जो हमारी आर्थिक व्यवस्था है, आज जो पूरी आर्थिक व्यवस्था के में काम करने वाले हमारे उद्योग जगत के जो लोग हैं, उनकी दिक्कतें दूर करना ये हमारे लिए प्राथमिकता है। और इसीलिए पिछले कुछ दिनों में वित्त मंत्री ने और उससे पहले प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो ऐलान किया, मुझे लगता है इसी दिशा में वो सही कदम भी है। ये सही बात है कि कुछ लोगों की अभी भी दिक्कतें बरकरार रहेगी, उसको दूर करने के लिए और काफी कुछ करने की जरूरत होगी। लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि आज ये दिक्कत दूर करना ये बहुत ही इमीडिएट चीज है। जैसे लॉन्ग टर्म हमारी हेल्थ कैसे बने, सेहत कैसे बने, इसके लिए एक हेल्थ रेजिम किया जा सकता है। लेकिन आज की दिक्कतें दूर करने के लिए सर्जरी की जो जरूरत है, उसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी और वित्त मंत्री जी दोनों उस दिशा में ही अपने कदम डाल रहे हैं। दूसरी बात, आने वाले दिनों में हमारे देश के लिए काफी कुछ लाभ हो सकते हैं, और लाभ लेने के लिए आज से ही उस दिशा में जाने की जरूरत है। मैंने जब कॉमर्स इंडस्ट्री मंत्री था तो मैंने कुछ कदम उठाए थे, जैसे कि व्यापार काम करने वाले लोगों को कम से कम कठिनाइयों का सामना कैसे करना पड़े, हाउ रेगुलेटरी इश्यूज कैन बी रिड्यूस्ड। उस समय DIPP कहते थे, अभी आज को DPIIT कहते हैं। उसके जो सेक्रेटरी उस समय थे, उनकी अध्यक्षता में मैंने कमेटी बनाई थी कि रेगुलेशन किस तरह से दूर किया जाए, कम से कम रेगुलेशन किस तरह से रहे, क्योंकि हमारी देश की तरक्की हो सकती है यदि लोगों को जॉब मिलेगा। लोगों को जॉब कैसे मिलेगा? सरकार जॉब देने में तो एक सीमित प्रावधान रहते हैं, तो यदि हमारी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी बढ़ेगी तो ही जॉब मिलेंगे। इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी बढ़ने के लिए उनको ज्यादा से ज्यादा उनकी दिक्कतें दूर करने की जरूरत है। साथ ही में हमने ये भी काम किया था कि जो इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट में काम करने वाले लोग हैं, इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड में जो कठिनाई आती है वो दूर करने के लिए DGFT को लेते हुए हम लोगों ने एक अलग से एक डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म किस तरह से किया जाए उसकी तरफ काम अभी बहुत मात्रा में हो रहा है। TCS को काम दिया गया है। आपके घर में बैठ के आप पूरी मात्रा में डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म का इस्तेमाल करते हुए आपके इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट की समस्या, एक्सपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट के कारोबार आप कर सकते हैं। उसी तरह से उसमें सभी को लाया है, यानी सिर्फ DGFT नहीं तो कस्टम्स की अथॉरिटी है, जो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंस, सभी लोग, यानी एक जगह पे आपको पूरी मात्रा में एक की शुरुआत की। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में भी काफी परिवर्तन लाने के लिए भी हमने काम करने की शुरुआत की थी। लेकिन एक और व्यवस्था हमने उसमें की थी कि $5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी यदि बननी है तो क्या करना चाहिए। आज हमारी इकोनॉमी में 16% हिस्सा, द शेयर ऑफ इंडस्ट्री इन GDP is only 16%. I said let us at least take it to 20%. Though our stated objective should be 25%. But unless you reach 20%, how will you reach 25%? So in the first phase, let us try to achieve 20% target. In $1 trillion economy, 20% target means $5 trillion economy, 20% of that is $1 trillion. So from where we'll get this $1 trillion? Which sectors will contribute to this $1 trillion? So I had prepared a complete sector-wise, and I did not prepare it myself. I didn't prepare it myself, but it was prepared with industry leaders who are actually manufacturing. Mahindra, Tata, Birla, and others, Godrej, they are the ones who actually prepared which sector will contribute and what are the steps necessary for each of the sector. Then $3 trillion will come from services, 60%, for which 12 champion sectors were identified, for which 5,000 crores was approved by the cabinet to be given to the different stakeholders in the sector. So that service sector will be boosted, which will create jobs, because service sector will create more jobs than industry now in future, because there is going to be so much of technology infusion into the industry. And agriculture, which is so important. And in Bengal, we have an economy which is also agriculture as well as services, and also industry, which should be more industry. So all of that will get a boost, and agriculture should contribute to $1 trillion to the $5 trillion economy, for which we actually prepared the first ever India's agriculture export policy, which will give India an advantage of taking agriculture export to about $100 billion. As you know, if that happens, the farmer's income will increase to that extent. If farmer get $100 billion of foreign acquired money, the consumer in India will not lose much because export is outside. So we are getting money from outside. So domestic prices also will not fall, which is to the detriment of the farmer, or will not go up unnecessarily, which is detrimental to the consumer. So farmers will get money, and that money farmer will be able to spend on acquiring either industrial products or services. So entire economy will get a boost, will get into a virtuous cycle of growth. I remember all sector needs support. Today aviation sector is suffering the most. Actually, aviation, tourism, hospitality, all of that are going to suffer for a foreseeable future. And they are the ones who create maximum number of jobs into the service sector. You can say IT produces a lot of jobs, but if you compare tourism, hospitality, travel as well as aviation put together creates many more jobs. And they are into deep trouble today. So to ensure that they get support, we had prepared at that time. Of course, we never thought that COVID will come and it will happen, but we had prepared a roadmap for aviation industry, which will actually ensure that India is now the third largest aviation market. Prime Minister Modi had launched a very ambitious program, UDAN, which has helped many more people to fly for the first time in their life, which again has created boost for the tourism sector, but also helped the aviation sector to create more jobs. All of that will lead to more sectoral development. Infrastructure is another big area that we should now focus on. I remember as the Railways Minister, I had prepared a roadmap for 8,56,000 crores to be invested in 5 years. There is Mr. Chaudhary, Umesh Chaudhary, who is in Titagarh railway factory in Kolkata. He has invested money into making locomotives or making rolling stock. But railways capital expenditure doesn't go up. How is he going to get orders? How private sector will grow? And railway can, because of this capital expenditure we increase substantially, so many people, contractors got new contracts. And all of that we did in a most transparent way. Not a single rupee tender ever came to me. My first decision as the railway minister was that we must stop bringing any commercial decision to the railway ministry. It should happen at a general manager level or at the operation level. And we made system wherein even people will get their contracted whatever money in the bank account. I am not saying it is 100% proof, but it was far, far better than what was the system prevailing before that. The idea was that transparency must drive it. Whether transparency in procurement, transparency into promotion of people, in appointment of people, into posting of people, all of this will be fraught with so many wrongdoings. So we said we must make improvement into all of that. I am just saying this because in tomorrow's post-COVID, when we like to develop the new economy, we'll have to bring in complete transparency. We'll have to bring more investment into the infrastructure. We'll have to bring small and medium enterprises to be the backbone of India's economy, which already it is, but it doesn't get the kind of boost that is necessary, which now I hope will happen through these various measures. India has great advantage because geopolitically and geo-economically, we are positioned in such a way that we can benefit immensely from changes that are happening in the world. People want to do business more with India than with China. They want to do business with India because of our inherent advantage, but because that we should position ourselves as transparent democratic system, which in turn will bring more money into India as FDI and others. I am sure we'll be able to achieve many more things. I don't want to speak more because maybe for 5 minutes we can answer some question, and I promise you, Mr. President, I will come again whenever you want to invite me, and we'll talk longer. Because of change of timing, I have another program, so that person is even gesturing me that I have to go into the other webinar. But I will definitely promise you that we'll work together. In the meantime, if the chamber has got any issues to be taken up with the government, please send me and I will follow up with various ministries. Only request is that send me one issue on one paper. So you can send me separate issues separately so that I can follow up with the respective ministries very easily. I am a member of parliament from Andhra Pradesh, and I had such a fantastic interaction with all the chambers of commerce of Andhra Pradesh some time back, about 2-3 weeks ago. They gave me such suggestions. I requested all the different ministers. I am very happy that some of which is reflected in the announcement that Finance Minister made yesterday and today. So we'll take up all those issues and we'll make sure that your issues are properly addressed. But I really appreciate your involvement into the process of nation building. Your chamber is also one of the well-known, respected chamber, not just in Kolkata or in Bengal, but in all over the country. So I really look forward to working more with you, and really thank you once again for this opportunity. If Mr. President Saab, if you want, I can be there for another 5 minutes to answer any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Mahesh Saharia, please.
Thank
Can I
you very
ask
much,
one question?
Yep.
Definitely, sir.
Amit, can you mute all the
This lockdown will open. We'll call you personally in Calcutta for our chamber, and we'll be very glad to have a discussion with you face to face. I have one question, sir. Over the last few days, both the formal and informal sectors have come to the virtual halt. Most manufacturing firms have shut down. How will this impact the output and income of our factories and full economy? Can you just tell us the impact of output and income? Your view, sir.
On what? Sorry.
Because from last few days,
Yeah.
these formal and informal companies in all the sectors, mainly manufacturing sectors, were closed down. And we have come to a virtual halt. And this is going to impact our economy. So can you tell us this impact of output and incomes of our firms, how it will be, our factories and for the whole economy?
You're saying oil?
Yes, because this is my question, sir. Because of the shutdown, our factories and everything was shut down.
Yeah.
Informal and formal, both sectors were shut down. And it is definitely going to have the economical effect. So what do you think that this impact the output and income of our firms?
Okay. No, absolutely. See, basically, if people lose income, when you say people, it's also corporate. Because corporate also have to earn income. Corporate is a legal entity maybe. They lose income, individual lose income. Obviously, that is going to impact overall on the economy. So when people lose income, they will cut down on expenditure. When they cut down expenditure, demand will be lower. If the demand is lower, the manufacturing sector will be affected. If the demand is lower, it is going to affect your services because people will not buy that many services. People will not, of course, travel. And as I gave the example, people are less traveling. Obviously, the entire industry is in deep trouble. Deep trouble. In fact, the aviation industry globally is going to suffer maybe upward of, the loss of revenue, not loss in balance sheet, would be to the tune of some $350 billion. And that depends upon today's estimation, because if the lockdown increases and goes beyond particular, it will happen. So it is going to have a very negative impact, no doubt. It is going to even have a negative impact on government finances, because if people don't have income, obviously the government's income also will be affected. If you don't buy too much, then your GST collection of government will go down. If the corporates don't make profit, government income tax very negative impact. The reason why we have to have, and the way the Prime Minister has announced 20 lakh crore package, is to neutralize this impact. Because if you go into the hole, big hole, then it is very difficult to come out of it. So we have to neutralize it to an extent possible, so that the economic output, what you are asking is a very important question. Output or income both put together is either a GNP or a GDP. Income will be calculated overall as GNP, or output will be calculated overall as a GDP. Both negative impact on that will have a negative impact on a future growth of the economy. And therefore, it is one of the very big challenge. We have to address it properly. And I'm glad that now we are making an effort in that direction to salvage the losses that we already suffered.
Sureshji, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, we have taken a leaf out of your, that you may have noticed that we started the